Congratulations on Say Nothing. Wow, what a powerful series this is.
Thank you.
Uh, did they do it right? I mean, you're a producer on the series, but did they do it right? Did they adapt the book properly?
Yeah, it's funny as an author, I think you sort of have to make peace with the idea that the show is going to be a different thing. It's going to be a little different from the book. But I think it's come together really brilliantly, and I think it works for people who've read the book, but also for people who haven't read the book and won't read the book. It kind of works on its own terms. So I'm really, really happy about it.
How did the story fall in your lap?
It's a funny story. My father who is from Boston, where I grew up, the first section of the newspaper that my dad reads in the morning is not the sports page, is not the front page. He reads the obituary page, which he calls the Irish sports pages. And I got that habit. And in 2013, I opened up the obituary page of the paper and I read an obituary of this woman, Dolores Price, who's the main character in the show and the book. And she was this young woman who, when she was just out of her teens, had joined the Irish Republican Army in the early 1970s and lived this very dramatic life. She joined the IRA. She went off to bomb London. She bombed the Old Bailey. She got locked up in Brixton Prison. She went on a hunger strike. Whole crazy life. And I was just very intrigued by the idea of this woman who I'd never heard of and all the kind of twists and turns in
Yeah.
her story. It felt like a thriller to me, but also kind of like a tragedy.
Well, she's a incredible character, and to believe that this is based on a true life is like they always say, truth is so much better than fiction.
Yeah, it's so true. It's funny for me as, somebody whose day job is I'm a magazine journalist. I feel like I could not, you could put me in a room for 10 years and I wouldn't be able to dream up some of the crazy things that happen in this story, but it's all true. You go out there and you tell true stories and often they are pretty bizarre, but fun.
Yeah, in fact, that reflects. You did mention that the articles that you've written for the New Yorker, extremely funny, and some are extremely horrific.
Mm.
Um, what a great career you've had. You started as an investigative journalist.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a journalist. I thought it'd be cool. It took me a long time to sort of figure out how to make it happen. But yes, I love to tell these big kind of sprawling investigative stories that have kind of larger than life characters and hopefully have you on the edge of your seat. And that's what I was trying to do here. And again, I feel as though the show really kind of captures that energy. You sort of get sucked into it.
It certainly does, and there's humor in it. There's angst. It hits all the notes.
I'm glad to hear you mention the humor. It's funny because I noticed this when I would go over to Belfast is I made all these trips, 7 trips for the book to go over there and interview people about the troubles. And it's this dark time and people are telling you about these sometimes these awful events. And I found that I kept cracking up, that they were telling jokes and there's a kind of gallows humor in the way people talk about even terrible events there. And we really wanted to try and capture that in the show. So I think that some people are kind of surprised when they're watching that they find themselves laughing along, as things are kind of going very dark at times.
I think that is part of the Irish culture. Is just it's everything is up for laughs. It seems.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it's kind of a coping mechanism, honestly. It's like there's a sort of defiance if you say you can do anything you want to me and I'm still going to have my laughter. There's something in that. There's a kind of fierceness and pride in that I admire.
As audiences discover the series on Hulu, what do you think they'll pull away with them from watching it?
Well, it's funny, on some level, this is a story about like a foreign place and another time in history. On another level, in some ways, aspects of it seem familiar, right? It's about a very divided society in which you have these kind of tribal animosities. People don't know how to talk to each other anymore. They can't find political common ground. And in Northern Ireland, what happened is that whole society just kind of jumped the rails in the early 1970s and people started killing each other in the streets. So it's a cautionary tale in that respect. But I think also it just should work as a story, right? It's
Yeah.
a thriller. It's a story about these uh, fascinating characters who kind of come together in the early 70s. And then it really has this epic arc where you follow them for decades
Yeah.
and you see how they feel as they look back on the radicalism of their youth.
Do you like the job of producing?
I enjoyed it. I got to say, it's funny. It was kind of like going to film school for me because I was kind of brought into this and involved at every step of the way, and every day was an education. So I was learning about casting and location scouting and costumes and hair and makeup and the script and editing and
Yeah.
music supervision, all this stuff. It was a blast. I loved it.
And before I let you go, I gotta congratulate you on Painkiller. It's such a great series as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really fun. I mean, it's been a lucky few years for me. That's the series on Netflix, and it was I was not as involved on a day-to-day basis with that one,
Yeah.
but also amazing to have that, to tell a story and then see Matthew Broderick playing one of the characters that you wrote about.
Well, congratulations again on Say Nothing. Wow, it just takes you heart and soul, and such a brilliant series, a brilliant cast, and based on a brilliant book.
Thank you so much, Tony. It was great to talk with you.
Nice talking to you. Have a great day.